Before an iPhone becomes an object you recognize, before it lights up, vibrates, or responds to a touch, it exists only as intention, not as a product, but as a process waiting to begin. Inside Apple's precision assembly environment, nothing arrives casually. Every component enters this space with requirements already defined. Aluminum frames arrive first. They are not shaped here, that happened earlier, but they are perfected here. Each frame is placed onto vibration-free carriers, moving forward at a pace set not by speed, but by accuracy. Inspection lights wash over every surface. Edges, corners, microscopic curves. Cameras search for deviations smaller than a human hair. Any frame that fails doesn't move forward. It disappears, because this line does not fix mistakes. It removes them. Once approved, the frames are cleaned again. Not because they're dirty, but because dust is unacceptable at this scale. Air filtration systems hum softly overhead. The environment feels controlled, deliberate. Every sound has a reason. Every movement is measured. This is where the phone begins to feel inevitable. Adhesive application follows. Robotic dispensers lay down thin, precise lines where the display will rest. Too much adhesive causes pressure points. Too little causes separation. So the amount is calculated exactly. OLED displays arrive sealed in anti-static trays. They are fragile, unforgiving. Vacuum grippers lift each display gently, aligning it with the frame beneath. The moment they meet, pressure is applied evenly. Not force, balance. The display bonds into place and moves forward immediately. Heat lamps cure the adhesive, locking the screen permanently. At this stage, the device looks complete, but it is hollow. Inside, it is still empty. That emptiness is filled carefully. Logic boards arrive next, carrying more computing power than entire rooms once held. They are handled only by machines or glove technicians. No bare contact, no shortcuts. The board is placed into the frame, aligned by pins that allow no tolerance for error. Flex cables wait nearby, folded precisely. One by one, connections are made. Each connector clicks softly into place, confirming alignment. Sensors verify electrical continuity instantly. If something doesn't respond exactly as expected, the device stops moving. Not later. Now, batteries follow. They are stored separately, temperature-controlled, constantly monitored. Each battery is unique, tracked, logged, identified. Adhesive secures it inside the frame, designed to hold firmly while still allowing controlled removal during servicing. Once placed, the phone gains weight, presence, feels real. Cameras come next. Lens assemblies are aligned under optical calibration rigs. Robotic arms adjust position by microns, checking focus and symmetry. The camera is not just installed. It is taught where it sits in space. Speaker modules slide into acoustic chambers. Vibration motors are seated with exact orientation. Every internal component has one correct position. Nothing flexible, nothing approximate. As the phone advances, layers of capability come together quietly. There is no celebration, no pause, only progression. When the final internal connector is seated, the device is nearly whole, but not sealed. That comes later. For now, it moves forward, carried by the same principle guiding every step here. Remove uncertainty. Enforce sameness. Repeat without variation. Because Apple doesn't build iPhones to surprise people. It builds them to feel familiar the moment they're turned on. That familiarity is not accidental. It begins here, before the phone ever powers up, before it ever displays a logo. It begins in silence, precision, and the refusal to guess. Thumbs up if you're enjoying this calm, behind-the-scenes look inside how iPhones are really made. Tap the like button. Once every internal component is in place, the device pauses. Not physically, but procedurally. Because this is the point where precision becomes accountability. The back glass arrives next. It doesn't simply cover the phone, completes it. Each panel moves in on vibration-isolated carriers, protected from shock, dust, and static. Laser etching has already placed the Apple logo perfectly beneath the glass. Not printed, embedded. Robotic arms lower the glass onto the aluminum frame with careful alignment. Vacuum presses engage, pulling the glass down evenly. Pressure is applied slowly, consistently. This seal matters. It determines water resistance, structural integrity, longevity. Once bonded, the phone enters curing chambers. Here, adhesives set fully under controlled temperature and humidity. Nothing rushes this step, because a rushed seal will fail months later, long after the factory is forgotten. Now the phone is physically complete. But being complete doesn't mean being trusted. That trust must be earned. The device wakes up for the first time, not with a welcome screen, but with diagnostics. Touchscreen tests begin immediately. Robotic fingers tap, swipe, and press across the display surface. Every region is tested, every response measured. Latency, accuracy, pressure sensitivity. If the screen hesitates even slightly, the phone is removed. Buttons follow. Automated probes press power and volume keys thousands of times in rapid sequence. Not gently, not kindly, because real use is never gentle. Speakers activate next. Test tones sweep through frequencies while microphones measure output. Distortion is unacceptable. Imbalance is unacceptable. Cameras are tested under calibration rigs projecting controlled patterns and moving targets. Focus shifts. Exposure adjusts. The camera isn't just checked. It's aligned to expectation. Face recognition sensors follow. Depth sensors scan reference objects. Infrared patterns reflect and return. Security depends on this step. One misalignment and the device fails. Phones that don't meet standards are diverted quietly off the line. No announcement, no second chances. They will be disassembled or recycled. The line moves on. Approved devices continue forward. Next comes durability testing. Phones enter automated rigs simulating drops, vibrations, and pressure. Not catastrophic falls, but repeated stress. Because failure rarely happens once. It happens over time. Temperature testing follows. Phones move between warm and cool environments rapidly. Expansion, contraction. The seals are tested again without being touched. If the device survives this, it moves on. Final cleaning happens next. Lint-free air jets remove microscopic particles from the surface. Nothing is allowed to interfere with the first impression. Protective films apply themselves automatically to screens. Smooth, bubble-free. Now the phone is ready to be seen, but not yet by a customer. First, it must disappear into packaging. Boxes fold around the device with precision. Cables align. Documentation slides into place. Every box must feel identical when opened. That experience is part of the product. Boxes seal. Labels print. Serial numbers lock the device to records. From here, the phone is no longer treated as hardware. It becomes inventory, grouped, counted, tracked. Robotic systems stack boxes into cartons. Cartons seal. Pallets form. Each pallet holds hundreds of identical experiences, each one destined for a different hand. Before leaving, pallets are scanned again. Weights confirmed. Destinations verified. Nothing is assumed, because once these phones leave, the factory loses control. And control matters. That's why so much effort is spent here, before the device ever reaches a shelf. This stage doesn't create new features. It protects expectations. It ensures that when someone opens the box, nothing feels uncertain. Everything works. Every time. That reliability isn't luck. It's designed, tested, and enforced here. Bell if you want more calm, detailed factory stories like this. Subscribe. There's more coming. Once the phones are sealed inside their boxes, the product itself is finished. The screen will not change. The hardware will not improve. The software will update, but the object is complete. What remains is movement. And movement at Apple's scale is its own system. Inside the factory, sealed boxes travel along conveyors toward logistics zones that feel quieter than the assembly line, but are no less controlled. Every box carries a unique identity, serial number, model, region. Scanners read them instantly as they pass. Not one at a time, but in streams. Boxes group themselves based on destination. Some will cross oceans. Some will move only a few hundred kilometers. The process decides automatically. Cartons fold around groups of boxes with mechanical precision. Adhesive seals lock in place. Weights are checked again. Nothing leaves without matching expectation. Cartons then form pallets. Robotic arms stack them with exact geometry, layer by layer, corner by corner. This isn't about speed. It's about stability. A pallet that shifts in transit becomes damage later. So balance is enforced here, while correction is still possible. Stretch wrap tightens around the pallet, applying tension evenly. Not too tight, not too loose, just enough to hold everything still. Before departure, pallets pause under inspection lights. Cameras check alignment. Sensors confirm integrity. Only when everything is correct does movement resume. Forklifts glide through wide warehouse lanes, guided by digital traffic systems. There is no honking, no rushing. Urgency creates errors. At the loading docks, trucks wait exactly when scheduled. Dock levelers adjust automatically. Pallets roll forward smoothly. Inside the truck, restraints engage. Lights shut off. Doors seal. At that moment, control transfers. But Apple's system doesn't stop tracking. Logistics dashboards update in real time. Every truck, every container, every route. Phones move through distribution centers, airports, ports, and warehouses, still untouched, still sealed. By the time a phone reaches a store or doorstep, it has already passed through more systems than most people realize. And none of those systems want attention. They want invisibility, because the goal isn't to impress with logistics. It's to ensure nothing goes wrong. Somewhere else, another factory resets. Back at the assembly line, counters return to zero. Robots clean their tools. Stations recalibrate. The environment prepares itself for repetition. Because Apple doesn't build iPhones in waves. It builds them continuously, day after day, shift after shift. The same steps, the same checks, the same outcomes. That repetition is what allows scale without chaos. It's why millions of devices can feel identical. Why quality doesn't drift. Why expectations are met instead of negotiated. Most people will never think about this. They'll open the box, turn the phone on, and move on with their lives. They won't imagine CNC machines, calibration rigs, or curing chambers. They won't think about pallets or distribution lanes. And that's the point. The best manufacturing disappears behind the experience. When something works perfectly, it fades into the background. It becomes normal. That normality is Apple's real product. Not glass, not aluminum, not silicon. Reliability. And reliability only exists because somewhere, far from the screen, a system repeated itself without deviation. Again, and again, and again. Speech balloon, now tell me in the comments, should we go inside another Apple product next? Or a completely different factory? After the last truck leaves the loading dock, the factory does not rest. It resets. Inside the assembly halls, movement slows, but it doesn't stop. Robotic arms return to neutral positions. Conveyors empty. Lights dim slightly, shifting into maintenance mode. This is not downtime. This is preparation. Every surface that touched a device is cleaned. Not because it looks dirty, but because cleanliness here is invisible. Air filtration systems cycle at higher intensity, removing particles too small to see. Tools are recalibrated automatically, their tolerances checked against digital standards. Nothing is assumed to still be correct, because precision drifts when it's not enforced. Scrap materials are collected and separated. Aluminum shavings, rejected components, defective units. They don't leave the system as waste. They loop back. Aluminum is melted, recast, rolled again. Glass is crushed, refined, reused. Rare materials are recovered where possible. This isn't branding. It's efficiency. Because when you build at this scale, waste is simply inefficiency that hasn't been corrected yet. Energy usage is monitored continuously. Displays show consumption stabilizing as production slows. Systems switch to low-power states automatically. The factory breathes, not like a machine, but like an organism that understands rhythm. Somewhere in the building, new components arrive quietly. Frames, displays, logic boards. They don't rush toward the line. They wait, because timing matters. When the next shift begins, everything must feel seamless, as if nothing ever stopped. That continuity is intentional. Apple's production system isn't built around launches or hype. It's built around consistency. The same process that built the phone you're holding today will build the next one, and the one after that. Small changes will happen over time. Materials refined, tolerances tightened, steps optimized. But the philosophy remains unchanged. Remove uncertainty, control variation, repeat relentlessly. This is why iPhones feel familiar even when they're new. The experience doesn't change abruptly. It evolves quietly. Most people will never see this part. They'll never see the cleaning cycles, the recalibration, the waiting. They'll never think about how many times the same process repeats before improvement is allowed. And they don't need to, because the system isn't designed for attention. It's designed for trust. Trust that when a device is picked up, it will behave exactly as expected. Trust that the screen will respond. The battery will last. The camera will focus. Not because it's new, but because it was built the same way thousands of others were built before it. This factory doesn't chase perfection. It enforces reliability. And reliability at this scale only exists through discipline. That discipline doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from systems that refuse to guess. Every iPhone that leaves this place carries that discipline inside it. Not visibly, not loudly, but permanently. When the lights brighten again and the next shift begins, nothing feels different. Frames move forward. Displays align. Connections click into place. The system resumes, not because it has to, but because it's designed to. This is how precision survives at scale. Not through spectacle, not through speed, but through repetition so controlled that it becomes invisible. That is how iPhones are made. And that is why the system never stops.